So do you mind if I speak in Cantonese for a few seconds? I just want to check whether all of you actually understand what I meant just now, or can you follow me concerning the group project and concerning the group list? OK？我想講少少啦，大家即係可能講廣東話，大家會有多少少反應。咁其實上次我哋分組啦，上個禮拜一，咁其實啲同學仔係冇翻嚟嘅，咁我就 assign 咗佢哋去唔同嘅 groups 嗰度啦。咁另外就係可能都麻煩你哋睇翻啦，即係星期一我咧就已經抽咗一個你哋 presentation 嘅時間㗎啦。如果其實你睇翻個 list 係有啲咩錯誤或者有啲咩即係問題嘅，可能麻煩你哋即係話翻俾我聽啦，好冇？咁正如我頭先講啦，即係我嚟緊星期一就會講多啲關於 group project 可以點樣做啦，同埋嗰啲 topics 啦，你哋可以點樣去發展自己嗰個group project 嘅 topic 啦。咁另外其實你哋嗰個 group project 每一組我都希望你哋可能改翻一個名俾你哋自己個組咯。咁係啦，即係咁可能令到你哋組員之間有個歸屬感，即係自己有一個名咁樣。咁另外就係下星期一除咗 group project，我都會講多少少嗰個in-class online test 嘅。咁另外咧，其實嗰啲 guidelines 啊，包括 individual essay 同埋嗰個in-class text，我都會 upload 上去Blackboard 噶啦，即係會好快，即係 weekend 就會 upload 上去咯。咁關於功課我諗我會盡快即係講解清楚啦，等大家可以盡快開始做啦。因為我都知其實7個禮拜係好短，大家都可能比較緊張同埋有壓力嘅。咁我想問喺即係功課啊同埋project 啊呢啲 arrangement 上面有冇咩特別嘅問題啊？係，hello，係咪純粹 say hi 定係有啲嘢要講啊？OK，哦，你未有組，OK，咁我mark 低先。咁想問你上個禮星期一有冇翻嚟㗎？OK，哦，OK，咁我再 check 翻，其實可能將你即係邊一組度咁我會 update 翻嗰個 group list，OK，咁你再上去睇一睇，我應該今晚會update 翻佢㗎啦。OK，好，唔該晒。Okay, so can you see the PowerPoint slides? Okay, see. Any problem? Can you see the PowerPoint slides? Okay, thank you. So in the last lecture, I talked about the decline of traditional news media, particularly newspaper, and the rise of social media. We examined the transitions from the print age to the electronic age and then the digital age. You can see how the technological changes have transformed the ways we consume media content, especially news. So the way we consumed news have been transformed all over these years. From the 2000s onwards, more and more people consume news through online news outlets as well as through social media. Previously, I have shown you a recent survey which indicated that in 2026, um, actually for the first time at global level, the number of people consume news through social media outlets is more than those through news organizations, online news outlets, or apps. So now I will round up the last lecture and after that, I will start a new topic today. So by taking a look at the role of technology, uh, I actually will use McLuhan 4 laws of media as a framework to analyze the rise of internet, especially the social media, in shaping our ways in consuming news. So my focus will be the consumption of news. So actually on Monday, I have talked about the role of technology, especially about social media. And today, I would like to round up what I have said last week, what I have said on Monday, and then actually, I'm going to use the framework of McLuhan's 4 laws of media to take a look at the rise of social media as the major means to consume news. Okay, so that helps us to understand more about the transition from traditional news media to social media and how people consume news through social media. Okay. I think maybe I just give you some elaboration in Cantonese so I can make sure you can follow what I have just uh, covered. Okay. Because I think it's easier to have more interaction if I speak in Cantonese。我想講多少少咧，就係其實上一堂咧，即係星期一嗰堂啦，其實我就講咗即係傳統嘅新聞媒體啦，佢嗰個式微啦，咁特別係即係 newspaper 嗰方面啦，咁即係喺同埋咧特別係講到即係 social media 嘅興起啦，咁我哋亦都係其實講咗個 evolution of media technologies 啊，特別上一次最尾個部分我哋就睇咗到底點樣咧係一個 transition 係一個 print age 啊去到 electronic age 啊，再去到 digital age。咁我諗其實當我哋睇翻嗰個發展啦，你就見到其實 technological changes 係改變緊啊，我哋去即係去 consume 一啲新聞嘅嗰個方法啦，即係我哋嘅對新聞嘅即係 consumption of news 呢樣嘢其實係好受制於嗰個 technology 嘅。咁以前大部分人都係睇即係可能 print 嘅 newspaper 啦。到咗2000打後咧，其實越嚟越多人都係趨向用 social media 睇 news 嘅。咁今日我想用McLuhan 呢個Four Laws of Media 做一個 analytical tools 去睇翻呢個 transition 啊，from traditional media 到 social media，其實用呢一個 Four Laws of Media 去分析翻一個新興嘅所謂科技咧，點樣改變緊citizens 去睇新聞嘅方法啦。咁所以我諗我會花少少時間做翻一個即係係啦分析啦，咁然後我哋就會 move on 去睇另一個 topic 噶啦。Okay, I think most of you remember the 4 laws of media. This is an analytical tool which can be used to analyze the effect. Oh, there's something wrong. Oh.
打到字未啊？
唔係呢度冇啊，但係即係永遠都係呢度。
同學仔，麻煩你哋可能 mute 咗嗰個 speaker 佢好嘛？Okay. So do you remember the 4 laws of media? Okay, I think in the previous lesson I mentioned about McLuhan's 4 laws of media, and as I mentioned, this is an analytical tool which can be used to analyze the effects of technology on the society. Okay, so let's take a look at actually how social media has changed people's ways of consuming news. I think all of you would remember the good old days of social media, which offered us hope for diversity, democracy, community. But these days have gone, okay? We did believe that the world would be changed for the better when it first emerged. But I think when we look back at the very beginning, social media was quite promising. Okay, it promised us a better world. You can see that the emergence of the internet marked the decline of traditional news media. For example, Mingpo, Singdo, Daily, so have all gone online, and the majority of us consume news online. And when we use McLuhan's four laws of media, including enhancement, obsolescence, retrieval, or reversal, we can understand more about the evolution of technology over a period of time. So if you take a look at social media, you can think more about what it enhance. Okay, you can think about enhancement. In what way social media has enhanced maybe certain um, ways in consuming news. Okay, so I think when we talk about social media, it enhances accessibility of news. So it's easier for us to access news because we can access news through social media, um, different social media platforms, and also it actually enhances interactivity. Unlike traditional media, it's a one-way communication. Okay, you can see that when it comes to social media, it's more interactive, and then it provides a personalized product for us. Okay, because of algorithm. Okay, so person personalization is possible. So it enhances a kind of niche market with specialized products. And also, it enhances decentralization of information, democratization of information. So you can see that consumers, they are able to access a wide range of news sources and can choose which voices they trust and follow. Okay, so by using McLuhan's four laws of media as an analytical tool, we can understand how a particular technology create enhancement. Okay, uh, besides enhancement, we can take a look at obsolescence. So we can think more about how a technology eliminates maybe certain aspect of certain aspect, especially in terms of technology or in terms of the, uh, the media. Okay, so for example, for social media, it eliminates the homogenization of news content. So when news companies were owned by giant media conglomerates, actually the media content was quite one dimensional. Okay, it's quite homogenized. We do not actually at that period of time, people did not enjoy news. Okay, with different sources. It's quite one-dimensional. So for social media, it eliminates this sort of homogenization of news content. Uh, and also we can take a look at retrieval and reversal. Okay, so retrieval, that means returns us to something. So you can see that the role of traditional media actually was quite reliable when it is in its golden age. Okay, and it had integrity. Okay, and then actually when we talk about social media at the beginning stage, it brought back this sort of integrity and that sort of trustworthiness, okay, of the traditional media before it declined. And then lastly, actually, we can take a look at um, social media because you can see that because when we talk about social media, it allowed independent creators to create their own media content. So it had great influence over public discourse. And we have key opinion leaders shaping public opinion. So they offered independent, alternative viewpoint, investigative journalism, challenging the mainstream narratives. Okay, so you can see that actually it is able to retrieve something in the past, especially at the traditional media when it was in its golden age. Lastly, you can take a look at the flip side of social media. It reversed into an opposite state when it comes to an extreme. So you can see that we got misinformation problem, fragmentation of information. It's hard to distinguish what is true and what is fake. And then you can see that unlike traditional media, social media actually social media are not held accountable by regulatory bodies and journalistic standard as traditional media. That's the reason why I think the flip side of social media is a lack of accountability. And then so people are quite concerned about the spread of misinformation. Also, you can see that it has echo chamber effects. So engagement is more important than accuracy. And then you can see that algorithms create that sort of echo chamber where users are only exposed to information that reinforce their existing beliefs. Okay, so I think if you take a look at the transition, okay, from traditional media to social media, especially in the ways people consume news, then you by using the framework of McLuhan's 4 laws of media, you can have more in-depth analysis of a particular technology, how it enhances, eliminates, retrieve, and reverse certain characteristic in related to the technology. Okay, so I think that's a way you can analyze the changes brought about by media technologies. Okay. And also, I think when we talk about social media, you can think more about the evolution of media landscape in Hong Kong. So for a project, you can focus on, for example, the decline of traditional news media and the rise of independent and alternative media in the context of Hong Kong. So if you are interested in news media, okay, then you can choose maybe one of the periods to focus on and to think about how actually the society has been changed by an emergent technology. Okay, for example, how people consume news. Okay, in different periods of time. So I think I will provide further instruction and elaboration on Monday. But when we talk about evolution of media technology, it could be one of the topic you work on in your project. Okay, so actually to facilitate maybe more interaction in the class, maybe I just speak in Cantonese for a little while to maybe check whether you can follow me so far. Do you mind if I just speak in Cantonese for a while? Okay. Okay. Do you mind if I just give further explanation? Okay. Okay. 頭先咧我就講咗關於其實你哋 project 啦，我諗你都好關心你哋嘅 project 啊。咁其實因為上一堂我哋講咗 evolution of media technologies 啊，咁其實你哋都可以用翻上一堂我講過某啲嘅 analytical tools 啊，去理解翻可能喺local context 特別香港 context 入邊譬如媒體即係佢嗰個 transformation 係點，或者同埋呢個 transformation 點樣影響緊成個 society 啦，同埋裡面嘅 members 佢點樣去同彼此去溝通嘅咧？咁譬如如果你哋對於本地啦，即係香港嘅新聞 嘅media 有興趣啦，即係新聞媒體有興趣，其實你都可以做呢個 topic 啦，關於 evolution of media landscape。譬如到底傳統媒體啦點樣過渡到去一個社交媒體啦，而喺個當中咧點樣影響可能大眾去consume 一個 news story 嘅方法咧？咁你可以用即係可能McLuhan 啦，佢嘅可能一啲嘅講法啦，同埋譬如頭先我講過嘅 Four Laws of Media 啦，其實去分析喺呢一個 transition 嘅過程入邊，到底佢譬如加強咗邊個方面咧，或者佢有咩嘅即係 eliminate 咗啲乜嘢嘅 aspect 咧，甚至可能佢 retrieve 翻以前嘅傳統媒體嘅某啲特點啦，或者去到最尾，其實去到一個好 extreme case，當佢去到可能即係越嚟越多人用嘅時候，去到最尾，佢會唔會去翻一個反面咧？即係佢有好多個 weaknesses 咧，即係譬如頭先講啦，即係會唔會有一個 accountability 嘅問題啦、misinformation 嘅問題啦、同埋 echo chamber 嘅問題啦。咁所以其實當我哋講嗰個 four laws of media 啦，其實佢就俾你睇到咧，即係 technology 佢一方面係會 enhance 某啲 aspect，但係另一方面其實佢亦都會有佢嘅 weaknesses。或者有時候當佢取代另一個 media 嘅時候，佢亦都會保留翻某啲舊有 media 嘅某啲嘅特點啦。OK，咁所以透過用呢個 four laws of media 去分析呢啲嘅 evolution 啦，其實會幫到你可以深入啲去理解即係到底technology 係對於社會對個人有啲乜嘢嘅 impact 啫。OK，咁所以我諗即係。係咯，大家可以考慮，即係譬如如果你哋對呢樣嘢有興趣，都可以諗一諗呢一個 topic 啦。咁另外其實如果你唔做 news 嘅media 啦，你都可以諗下，譬如consumption of TV series 啦，或者即係到底喺嗰個或者特別係譬如 TV culture 啦，或者特別 TV culture，佢點樣可以塑造緊一個社會其實大眾對即係自己嘅自身身份嘅想像咧？OK，或者你可以講下香港可能由radio 嘅時代，或者可能由 print 嘅age 啦，點樣 transit 到去 electronic age，特別有 radio 啦，有電視嘅時代，而喺嗰個過程入邊點樣係 consolidate 咗可能香港人對自身身份嘅想像啦，或者甚至對 community 即係嗰種嘅歸屬感啦，即係電視嘅文化或者電視呢個technology，其實佢點樣改變咗即係基本上 society 同埋 individuals 佢哋去 communicate 嘅方法啦，或者對嗰個文化想像等等咯。咁我諗我先停一停喺度先啦。咁我星期一就會講多啲嗰啲更多嘅 options 啦，更多嘅 topics 啦。咁如果你哋仲有問題，可以再問我咯。OK。Okay, so now I would like to move on to look at something new. Okay, so today we are going to talk about ways of seeing. I have a post, actually, I have uploaded the article, the book actually, written by John Berger, entitled Ways of Seeing onto Blackboard. So if you are interested, okay, in this topic, I would encourage you to have a look at John Berger's book. And also I have uploaded a number of videos, actually with the same name, okay, Ways of Seeing. Okay, that's a TV series about actually how to decode images. Okay, so I would encourage all of you to take a look at those videos as well. Okay, so before I start a new topic, I would like to recap what I have said in the last lecture. Okay, I think previously I have mentioned that Marshall McLuhan actually made a statement. The medium is the message. In Cantonese, 媒介即訊息. Okay, so I think when it comes to, do you remember this statement? Okay, I think this is a very important statement. And then when McLuhan talk about the medium is the message, he would like to say that the message, what the message says, is irrelevant. Actually, the medium shapes our experience, our behavior, our habits, and which is crucial. Okay, so when you take a look at this photo, you can see a bottle, and inside the bottle, there's a message. Okay, from McLuhan's perspective, the message itself is a distraction, is irrelevant. The bottle, okay, is how, okay, human perception and consciousness, okay, are being shaped. Okay, so that's the reason why McLuhan made this statement, the medium is the message. So the form of a medium, no matter it's social media, television, shapes human perception, consciousness, and the social environment far more than the actual content or the information and what the message says. Okay, so I think that's what we have covered in the last lecture, and we have taken a look at media as technology. Okay, so today we are going to move from media as technology to media content. Okay, so we are going to take a look at media content from two different perspectives. Okay, one we consider especially images. Okay, and when we talk about visual media content, they contain visual code. And then I would like to introduce all of you to John Berger, a British art critic who is famous for his way in analyzing visual image. Okay, and then we are going to take a look at how we can decode visual media content, especially visual art and advertising. And then besides this perspective, I would also introduce to all of you another perspective in understanding media content. So I will I will talk more about Raymond Williams, who is considered as the father of cultural studies. And from Williams' perspective, media content or media could be institutions. Okay, so I will give you further explanation about the meaning of institutions. But before that, I would like to say that Raymond Williams criticized McLuhan, so, McLuhan's way of analyzing technology as technological deterministic. That means actually he thinks that McLuhan only take into consideration technology as the factor in creating impact on human society. So Raymond Williams would say that media technologies, they are not coming from nowhere, okay? They are actually a social processes, okay? Media technologies, they are not neutral, okay? They are controlled by institutions like government, okay? And then corporates, okay? So media technologies, they are not autonomous forces. Okay, they are not neutral. They are not maybe something appear out of nowhere. Okay, actually, they are constantly regulated by social institutions and economic powers. So, from this perspective, we would take a look at media content as institutions, how it categorize and classify different groups of people in the society, okay, and how it creates values, beliefs, knowledge, judgment, okay. So I think no matter is from the perspective of John Berger or Raymond Williams, they actually have a commonality. They believe that media content is not a simple reflection of reality, but a constructed reality. So today's keywords, let's take a look at that. So we're going to take a look at visual media content, especially images. I think in the contemporary world, in our everyday life, actually visual images are inevitable, especially in social media. Okay, we have the dominance of the visual on the social media. And then when it comes to visual media content, today, especially I mentioned, when it comes to media, it could be considered as institutions. And then also I will give further explanation about this approach, social constructionism. And then I will introduce all of you to two different concepts, including media representation and media as text. I will give further explanation about these concepts. They are closely related to the idea that actually, when we talk about media content, they are the way, okay, in creating or producing meanings and also constructing a reality for the audience. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm going to talk more about representation and also media as text. Maybe first of all, we can take a look at this picture together. So I think throughout today's lecture, I would like you to bear in mind these two questions. First of all, do media reflect the reality? Do media shape our experience of the reality? Okay, so I think I hope at the end of today's lecture, you can come to your own conclusion. Okay, maybe you can have a better idea about how media works. Okay, and then whether it reflects the reality or actually it's create a constructed reality for the audience. Let's take a look at this picture. What can you see in this picture? So how about the background? So we can see a man, A, okay, chasing another guy, man B, and threatening to kill the guy, okay? But how about the camera? So when you take a closer look at the camera, you can see man B is actually attempting to kill man B, man A. Okay, so you can see that is a reversal of what's happening in the reality. Okay, so I think when we talk about camera, is the medium. Okay, and then it seems that the camera has offered the audience a distorted reality. Okay, so today we're going to talk more about this issue, okay, whether media reflect the reality or it shape our experience of the reality. So let's take a look at this picture together. So what can you see in this painting?大家睇到啲咩喺呢張 painting 嘅裏面？見到啲咩？What can you see in the painting? Can you see? Yes. You can see a pipe. Okay. And then actually we got some written word at the bottom of the painting. Ce n'est pas une pipe. Okay. That's French. So what's the meaning of this sentence? It means this is not a pie. So would you feel a bit confusing? So you can see a pie, but also we have some written word at the bottom of the painting telling you this is not a pipe. So this is a work created by the surrealist painter Magritte. Okay, and the title of this painting is The Treachery of Images. Actually, it emphasizes on the deceptiveness of an image. Okay, images could be deceiving. Okay, so why actually it is not a pipe? Do you have any idea about that? Any idea why it is not a pipe? Okay, let's take a look at another photo. Okay, so in this photo, we got a man standing in front of this painting named The Treachery of Images. So as if he were smoking for the image of the pipe. Okay, so when you think twice, is this a real pipe? Okay, um, so when we talk about this guy, okay, it seems that um, actually he is looking at the painting, and then it happens that it create a kind of illusion that he is smoking the pipe. Okay, but all we know is that the painting is just an image. It's not a real pie in the real world. Okay, so I think by taking a look at this painting, Magritte would like the viewer to rethink uh, maybe the meaning of an image. Okay, so when you take a look at this painting, this image is just a representation of the real pipe in the real world. Okay, so you can see that it's not three-dimensional. It's just an image. Okay, so um, here you can see that Magritte would like to emphasize on how deceptive an image could be. And then it shows you the gap between representation and the reality. So there's always a gap between representation, 再現, okay, and reality. So I will give further explanation about the meaning of representation shortly. Okay, so when we talk about media representation, representation in Cantonese, 再現, and then so when it comes to our understanding of media content or media representation, it involves two different perspective or approaches. One is the reflective view, the other is the constructivist view. Okay, but basically, when it comes to representation, this term is closely associated with the second approach in analyzing and examining media content. Okay, so I think when we take a look at this apple, I think it's just like the pipe we just saw, okay, in the previous slide. They are just images, okay? They are not the real thing in the real world, okay? So that's the reason why we would say that the images, they are representation, okay? They are not something real in the reality. They are just an image. They are representation. So can you tell me, do you have any understanding about the meaning of representation? What does it mean when it comes to representation? This term, is it a bit maybe technical, this term? Okay. Oh, let's move on then. Yeah. Okay, so what is media representation? I think when it comes to representation, it means to present for the second time. Okay, so just imagine, okay, there was an apple, a real apple just next to you. But if you would like to represent that real apple in the real world, the apple that you can eat, maybe you just use a paper and draw the apple on the paper. Okay, and then when it comes to this process of representation, it always involves selection of perspective. Okay, maybe you will draw the apple by depicting it from the top. Okay, And then maybe when it comes to color, okay, you would use a different color, maybe other than red, you can choose other color to represent this apple. Okay, so I think when it comes to representation, is when you are actually describing or maybe drawing the apple for the second time, okay, by imitating it from the real world, then that's representation. Okay, so when we talk about representation, it's a process of making meaning, okay, to present for the second time. So to represent something is to describe or depict it, okay, and then I think um, it's a straightforward understanding of representation, but also you can think about actually to represent also means to symbolize or stand for, to use something to stand for another thing in the real world. For example, you use your drawing of the apple to stand for the real apple in the real world. So when we talk about representation, it's the process to capture reality in size, 符號. Okay, so to capture reality in 符號. And then I think when it comes to representation, it always involves the process of producing and creating meaning. So all of us actually, we are experienced in producing and creating meaning. Okay, for example, when you are recounting a story or when you are recounting an incident to your friends, okay, I think that process involve representation because if you recount what has happened, okay, for example, yesterday, okay, uh, when you talk about what happened to a woman, okay, yesterday, then it involves the process of selecting certain perspective in portraying that woman and what happened to her yesterday. Okay, so that's when it comes to representation, it's part of our everyday life. And then you can see that different media products reproduce meaning, and which shape and transform our perception of the reality. Okay, so I just want to move on to talk more about semiotics. But before that, I would like to know whether you can follow me. Do you understand the meaning of representation? Because for this lecture, we will focus more on media content, and then we would like you, maybe in your project, in your essay, you are able to make use of this concept to analyze media content as well. 好, hello, hello, maybe I think a newspaper, maybe news stories is an example of media representation because when it comes to reporting, okay, and we got journalists, they create news stories, okay, on newspaper, okay, and then it involves selection of different perspectives, okay, in reporting a particular incident. Okay. Yes, I think so. For representation, uh, we would say that it's a constructed reality. It's not the reality itself. Okay, because some people would believe that when it comes to art, it's an imitation of reality. Some people would say that it's 100% maybe actually it's when it comes to reality and representation, they are just an imitation, especially when it comes to painting, when it comes to reporting, what we can understand through stories and painting is a reflection of reality. It's just like a mirror, okay? It's reflecting what is happening in the real world. But I think when it comes to media studies, we would emphasize that instead of saying that is a reflection, we would say that is a constructed reality. You can see that actually for journalists, they would use materials from the real world and then to construct a reality for the readers to consume. Okay, that means when it comes to the journalist creation process, it always involves a particular angle in reporting a particular incident. Okay. And then different journalists, they may have different perspectives. They may have different selections of um, angles. Okay, they would actually include different things and exclude different things in the process of creating the news story. So you can, I think when it comes to representation, it shows uh, maybe 1 to 2 angles, okay, but it's not exactly the same as the reality. So that's the point, okay? It's not exactly the same, okay? Because if you think about reflective approach, then maybe you would think that uh, actually representation is a kind of imitation, but we are seeing that it's not, okay? It's just a construction, okay? It involves a process of inclusion and exclusion of materials. Thank you for your question. Yeah. And then actually, now I would like to move on to talk about something related to semiotics, because when it comes to decoding um, meanings, okay, when it comes to communication, we need to talk about semiotics. In Cantonese, 符號學, okay? I think you can think more about how language operates. So just take a look at this characters, the Chinese characters, 苹果, okay, and then the English word apple, okay. So when we talk about sign, okay, 符號, it consists of 2 components, okay. One is signifier, the other is signified, okay. So with these 2 components, okay, that form the idea of sign. Okay, so I will give you further explanation about that. So when we talk about 苹果 and apple, okay, these characters, they are an image, okay? They are written word. You can see the written word, they are image, okay? And also they are sound, okay? So you can hear the sound 苹果, and also you can see the characters, Chinese character 苹果. So actually, 苹果, this Chinese character, and the sound of 苹果, okay, they could be considered as signifier, okay, signifier, the 能字 in Cantonese. And then what they are referring to is the mental concept of 苹果, okay, that's the signified, okay. So you can see that when we talk about language, it's quite arbitrary. So if from the outset, I just, when you were young, your mother taught you that this word is actually symbolized the apple. Okay, this image, okay, not at this image. Then maybe at this age, you will find it quite natural when I say this word represent this image or the real thing, the real apple in reality. I think when it comes to language, it's always about convention, okay, and it's arbitrary, okay. So when we talk about language itself, you can see that it involves sound and image and also mental concept. And the sign actually is the system, okay, that we represent the reality. So when you see the correlation between the sound image and the concept, you can see how arbitrary it could be when it comes to language. So you can see the distance between representation and the reality. The gap is quite far, okay? Because actually we are using these characters to represent the real apple in the real world. But you can see that the relation between this sound image and the real apple in the real world could be quite arbitrary. Okay, so if I tell you, okay, and other actually sign represent 蘋果, you will find it quite natural as well. So if I say that instead of apple, horse represent this image, then maybe you don't think there's any problem. Okay, if I taught you this when you were young, then you can see that this sound image, okay, could let you know that actually, especially in your mind, you can appear that concept in your mind, which refer to the real apple in the real world. Okay, I just give you maybe some further elaboration in Cantonese。我想講少少咧，就係其實頭先都講咗少少關於咩係 representation 啦，即係我想講就係 representation 個中文再現啦嘅意思就係佢想強調其實我哋譬如見到個 pipe 啦，頭先見到個煙斗啦，同埋見到喺呢個 PowerPoint slide 上面嘅蘋果啦，其實佢哋都係一個再現嚟嘅。其實基本上佢同現實生活入邊嗰個物品啦，嗰個蘋果之間係有一個距離嘅。咁同埋我頭先啱啱講咗少少關於符號學啦，即係特別到嗰我哋語言，我哋要透過語言其實去建構我哋嘅客觀世界嘅，即係意思話我哋對於世界嘅 perception 一定係透過 language 啦，或者透過 images 啦。咁其實當我哋去少少去分析翻到底語言點樣運作啦，特別去睇翻符號學啦。符號學即係呢個 semiotics 其實係一個 Swiss 嘅 linguist 咧，叫做 Saussure 啦，去即係研究出嚟嘅。即係佢就講啦，其實當你見到一個英文字母 apple 咁樣啦。其實佢一個 sound 同埋 image 啦，佢就係一個 signifier。咁其實佢其實要去指向啲咩咧？就係指向一個 mental concept 嘅蘋果。OK，咁當我話俾你聽，其實如果由細到大都話俾你聽，依個character 依個英文字母係等於依個 image，其實你係應該係冇問題，你都會到你20歲、30歲嘅時候，你會覺得好 natural 咯。依個字體同依個image 之間係有個聯繫嘅，即係話你見到其實當我哋講representation 嘅時候，當我理解 reality 嘅時候，我哋一定要 through 呢啲嘅 processes 啊。咁所以到底其實我哋嘅真實世界啦，同埋嗰個再現之間，其實係咪真係一個所謂 imitation 咧？定係其實都充滿咗好多好即係模棱兩可嘅一啲關係啦，同埋其實好多時候我哋以為我哋透過媒體啦，或者可能即係透過語言去理解現實世界，就係等於現實世界。其實呢個係可以值得去 challenge 嘅咯。OK， I think don't worry, so okay, you don't need to know okay everything I cover. For semiotics, it's just tells you okay the gap between representation and reality, especially in the operation of language itself. Okay, so just give you some ideas about how actually media content constructed the reality and how language constructed the reality. It involves the process which could be quite arbitrary. Okay, so I just want to give you further explanation about media representation. So I think when it comes to representations, they are images. Okay, so I've mentioned that representation, they are images, descriptions, explanations, and frames for understanding what the world is and why and how it works in particular ways. So when we use this word representation, actually it's assumed that when it comes to media content, okay, they are capable of constructing reality for the audience or for the readers or for the media users. Okay, so actually, when it comes to representation, it always emphasizes the process of representing. Because by emphasizing the process, then you will know that it's not something neutral. Okay, it involves members in the society. They are using system of size to produce meaning. Okay, so I think you are experienced in using size, okay, to produce meaning. For example, when you are speaking, when you are using language to produce meaning, you are the person who are using the systems of size to create meaning, okay, and to communicate with other members in the society. So by emphasizing that representation involves the process, okay, actually make you think twice when you believe that the media world is just a reflection of reality, okay, because by focusing on the processes, okay, you can see that media content producer, okay, they would select certain aspect, okay, of the reality to represent maybe what they believe in, okay, and then to represent the reality to the audience. So the study of media representation centers on analyzing representations as text by looking at the textual, auditory, visual, and discursive properties in order to establish a better understanding of the work that they do. So that is the process of producing meaning. So I think when it comes to representation, is quite complex, heterogeneous, and multiple. Okay, that means when it comes to representation, it always involves that process. Okay, by using words. Okay, for example, by using images. Okay, by focusing on certain emotion. Okay, and then you would create a constructed reality for uh, the people in the society to consume, okay, especially when it comes to media representation. And then I just wanted to introduce to all of you, okay, the idea of media as text. Okay, so when we talk about representation, we emphasize on the processes, okay, of constructing reality, okay, especially through media. And then when we say that media as text, we are not just emphasizing that media, they are actually composed of written texts, okay, it's not um, in that way. We are seeing that actually when it comes to uh, media as text, we refer these texts as TV shows, news, advertisements. Okay, these actually media artifacts. They would be considered as polysemic text that we need to decode the meanings of these texts. Okay, just like literature. Okay, text, actually, this term, it originates from literary studies. Okay, so like literature, media texts are interpreted and decoded by media users actively and also reviewing underlying cultural values and power politics. Okay, so when we say media as text, you are encouraged to decode the meaning of the text, okay, by focusing on their underlying cultural values and the sort of power politics involved in creating meanings. Okay, so I think you can consider different media artifacts. Okay, for example, social media, um, also news stories. All these could be considered as media text to analyze and to interpret. Okay, so I just speak in Cantonese, okay, to make sure you can follow me. Okay, so far，咁其實我哋講 media representation 啦，其實我哋基本上每一個人啦都會 involve 喺去再現呢啲嘅過程嘅，即係除咗係 media representation，其實基本上你每日都有機會係去重述可能一個事件啦，或者你同人哋 communicate 嘅時候。你會講一啲故事俾佢聽啦。咁喺呢個過程，其實你都係一個 representation 啊。咁我想講就係當我哋講 representation 嘅時候咧，會 involve 到好多唔同嘅 elements 啦，可能 written works 啦，可能一啲聲音啦、音效啦，甚至係影像啦，甚至牽涉到我哋嘅即係嘅知識啦，即係。我哋嗰個論述啦，即係到底其實你裡面牽涉咗咩 beliefs 同埋 values 啊，你先會選取一啲特定嘅 elements 啦，喺你嘅故事入邊啦，或者喺你嗰個 version of 一個 incident 裏面呈現嘅。所以其實每一個人嘅 representation 都會有唔同嘅取向或者選取性嘅。咁正如 media representation 都一樣嘅。咁點解我哋會有 representation 呢個 term 咧？其實係 closely related social constructionism 呢一個 approach 嘅。即係當我哋講社會建構論啦，其實就相信其實當我哋講 media 嘅 content 咧，佢唔係 neutral 嘅，佢係牽涉咗呢種嘅選取性啦，甚至我哋透過 media content 去理解嘅現實世界，都係一個 constructed 嘅 reality 嚟嘅，佢唔係 purely 一個鏡子啦，去純粹去反映嗰個現實啦。佢係一定係透過一啲嘅即係框架啦，去令到meaning 係可以 convey to 大眾啦，可以 convey 到去唔同嘅人嘅。咁所以係牽涉一個 system of size 嘅。即係如果我頭先講啦，即係semiotics 入邊牽涉語言嘅分析係咁 arbitrary 嘅。咁其實當我哋講媒體嘅再現嘅時候，你可以見到啦，即係媒體呈現嘅 reality 同埋現實世界嘅 reality 嘅距離可以幾遠咧？OK，即係呢個就係我想透過呢啲 terms 啦，去令大家去諗下，即係當你去分析一個媒體嘅文化啦、媒體嘅即係內容嘅時候，可以諗下其實佢有多重意義，可能就係將佢嗰啲好多唔同 layers 嘅可能 values 啊，好多唔同layers 嘅一啲 beliefs 啊，一啲 assumptions 啊，agenda 可以 uncover 出嚟啦。咁所以係呢個原因，我哋就會用 representation 去講翻即係 media 其實佢點樣去呈現 reality 嘅。咁另外個 media text 咧，我想講就係一個文本啦，即係我想大家唔好誤會啦。media as text 就係淨係講 written word，我哋唔係咁嘅意思。即係話其實當我哋讀 literature 嘅時候咧，你會視一個小説為一個 text 嘅一個文本去分析嘅，去分析可能牽涉到佢嗰個敘事嘅角度啦。到底敘事咧，敘事可能包括佢係咩第一人稱、第三人稱定係同埋佢嗰個敘事嘅方法咧，係可能係 linear 啊，定係即係可能係即係唔係 linear，可能係好fragmentary 嘅，即係嗰個敘事嘅即係嗰個線性嘅敘事，即係個時間係咪 linear 啊？定係其實好 fragmented，可能跨越唔同時代，即係咁。所以我哋 literature 我會將 novel 變成文本去分析啦。咁所以其實但係 media studies 我哋都會將media 嘅 artifacts 啦，譬如 TV shows 啦，可能甚至係可能 social media platform 入邊嘅 messages 啦，都視為一個文本去分析，去分析下到底佢點樣去構成一個多重意義，佢用咗啲咩嘅 techniques 咧？會唔會用咗某啲即係方法去可能有個 juxtaposition of 啲 images 咧，去 create 咗 meanings 咧，裡面會牽涉到一啲categorization 咧，或者裡面有冇牽涉到可能對某啲 groups 嘅人有唔同嘅方法去呈現咧？即係 OK，so that's the reason why actually we would say that when it comes to media studies, you need to study the text closely and then to uncover those polysemic meanings, okay, within the texts. And then these are some words, okay, that would help you, okay, to analyze, okay, media's text, including encoding, decoding, denotation, and connotation. So I will give further explanation about these terms after the break. Okay, so maybe let's stop here for a while. Then just think about what I have covered so far for today's lecture. And maybe if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, just leave messages, okay, in the chat box so I can reply your question or try to give you an answer, okay, regarding your question. So maybe let's take a break now, okay? Please come back at 8:16, okay? Okay, thank you for your questions. So I will address all your questions so after the break. So see you in a bit. Thank you. Hi, hello. So let's start again. So concerning your questions, okay, when it comes to alphabet, for example, A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, I think it's applicable, okay, when it comes to A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, okay? Because as I mentioned, okay, you can take a look at slides again. So when we say that apple, the correlation between this sound image apple and the real apple in the real world is arbitrary, okay? Because uh, actually it can be replaced by, for example, this sound image horse, okay? We can use this sound image to represent the apple in the real world. Uh, Maybe, for example, when you were young, you were told that this sign, okay, this actually sound image, okay, actually referred to the mind concept, the mind concept or the mental concept, okay, of the real apple in the real world, and it works, okay. So I think you will, when you see this sound image, okay, so you will immediately think of the real apple in the real world. Okay, so you can see that by using this example, it's arbitrary. Okay, so for A for apple, B for boy, uh, all those words, all those sound image, they are just sign, okay, representing the real things in the real world. But the correlation between the sound image and the things in the world is really arbitrary. Okay, it's changeable. Okay, it's just convention that we would use this sound image to represent the real apple in the real world. So by showing you actually how language operates, you will suddenly realize uh, there is a big gap between a representation and the reality. So if we understand the reality by using language itself, so suddenly you will feel that, okay, it has a great distance between um, the world created by language and the world in the reality. Okay. So that's the purpose of telling you something about semiotics, but you don't need to really drill into it. Okay, it's just give you an impression. Okay, about what is representation and uh, how our maybe reality is constructed through language or through images. Okay, and the relationship between representation and reality could be quite far and could be quite uh, distorted, maybe somehow in certain situation. Okay, and then for media, okay, I think actually when it comes to media, it involves a process of selection. It involves a selection process. Okay, that means um, what information is included and what information is excluded. Okay, we always actually would go through this process when we represent something. Okay, in the reality. If we use maybe certain symbols to stand for something in the real world, it always involves this selection process. Okay, and also it involves inclusion and exclusion, and different person may have different way and including and excluding information in their representation. Okay, and then maybe we are not being perceived, but in a sense, when it comes to representation, it's not value free. Okay, it's not neutral. It's always embedded with preferred meanings. Okay, so it cannot be perceived as just a reflection of the reality in an objective way. Okay, so because most of us would think that when it comes to uh, the media world, okay, we would consider it as a reflection of reality. Okay, but I just want to tell you that when it comes to representation, it points out that it's not that simple. Okay, it involves a complex process. Okay, thank you for your questions. Okay. So I just want to maybe say that I have mentioned social constructionism for quite some times, quite many times, okay? And then by um, focusing on social constructionism, so I would like to focus more on the media content, okay? Because previously we talked about media as technology, but today we will talk more about media as content, as especially media content. And then for social constructionism, you can see that uh, is closely associated with representation, this concept, because social constructionism, it's always emphasized that when it comes to the media world, it's a constructed world. So that's the reason why representation is inherently and inevitably a construction, a selective and particular depiction of some elements of reality, which always generates some specific meanings and excludes others. Okay, so I think when it comes to representation, this concept, it comes hand in hand with social constructionism. Okay, by using this word, actually, it would like to tell us that when it comes to representation, it's always selective. It's only maybe use certain elements in reality, in depicting, okay, the reality in a particular way, and produce uh, some preferred meanings, okay, by excluding, okay, some elements and including other elements, okay. And then you can see that when we talk about constructionism, social constructionism, it always emphasizes that to represent some things in the real world, we always use words, stories, images, okay, emotions, okay, and also we will classify and conceptualize those things in the real world in representation. And then also it involves our values, okay. Uh, we will associate um, certain, actually, actually, when we are representing something, it always involves that sort of underlying value, okay. So let's take a look at an example, okay. So that's a news story. A news story, okay, about two different groups of people, okay. One is foreigners, okay. The other group is South Asian, okay. And then, so when you take a look at these news headlines and also this news story, you can see that in this news story, two foreigners, okay, they are attacked by a number of South Asians. Okay, so when you take a look at the representation of these two groups of people, can you tell me, okay, what's your observation? So any observations, any insights, okay, when you are taking a look at this news stories? So I think it's obvious that this news story is a representation of what happened, okay, in the society, especially about um, an assault. Okay, we got two foreigners assaulted by some South Asians. Uh, so any observations about this news story? Okay, so when you take a look at this news story, especially the ways these two social groups are represented, you can see that when it comes to foreigners, okay, uh, I think in Cantonese 外籍，okay，外籍男子，okay，或者外籍人士啦，okay，so they are referring to white men, okay, uh, foreigners or white people, okay. And then when it comes to South Asians, uh, if you think about who are the South Asians? Okay, they could be referring to people coming from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Okay, and then when it comes to foreigners, you can see that South Asians could be foreigners as well. Okay, when it comes to these white men, they could come from different places. They can be an American or British or maybe French. Okay, but why actually we categorize them into different groups? Okay, and then you can see that somehow it's a convention. Okay, but it embedded with certain values. Okay, so when we take a look at news stories, as I mentioned, okay, in different society they would use different signs to represent different meanings. Okay, and then in this situation or in this example, you can see that when it comes to representation, it always involves certain classification and categorization of race, of gender, okay, as well. But in this case, I will give you further explanation about what we can understand through these news stories. Okay, so you can see that when we take a look at how representation works, actually media make categories of people, events, or ideas. For example, social stratification. It creates a kind of hierarchical structures of status and class in society. For example, South Asian, whereas foreigners, okay, generally refer to white people, okay. So we have other uh, stratification. For example, white people against black, middle upper class against lower class. So when we talk about representation are generalization about categories, and these categories then become part of our thinking processes. I think in most cases without our noticing. Okay, so for example, when it comes to 医生, okay, I think most of us would I know, okay, nowadays, okay, when it comes to 医生, okay, let's see, okay, we got male and women, men and women, okay, they could be in this profession, but somehow we got biased, okay, when it comes to 医生 or let's see, somehow what comes up to your mind would be a man, okay. Uh, it's possible, okay. So I just want to say that when it comes to language, when it comes to representation through language or images, it always accompanies this sort of stratification, categorization, and it actually become part of our thinking processes. So if you know, if you learn a foreign language, then you know that for European languages, they always have that sort of division about different genders, okay, concerning different nouns, okay. So different things would be associated with different gender, okay, and then it's a way actually to um, is a way actually to structure your feelings or structure your thinking, okay, make you to think in a particular way without uh, the knowing of the language user. Okay, so when we talk about representation, it always involves codes and conventions. Okay, so um, and sites with no conventional dimension are totally private and do not communicate. Okay, so when it comes to representation, it's always about convention in a particular culture. Okay, so somehow certain convention would not work in a different cultural context. And then when it comes to social dimension of size, you can see that we got an agreement amongst users about how to use the sign. So I think for the previous news story, it shows you, okay, we got some agreement, okay, amongst us, okay, about how to represent different groups of people in the society, and it become so natural, okay, so we cannot tell what's the problem at all. So when we talk about representation, it involves denotation and connotation, because when it comes to South Asian, okay, it's always involves that sort of derogative meaning. Actually, we assume a sort of uh, hierarchical position, okay, between foreigners and South Asian. Okay, so that's the reason why when it comes to representation, you can take a look at the denotation in Cantonese. It means 字面意義, okay, and the connotation 言外之意. So I think when it comes to South Asian, it's always connotative. Okay, we always have certain imagination about this group of people, and when it comes to foreigners, okay, it seems to be referring to a different group of people, and then they are civilized. Okay, they are rich. Okay, so I think maybe the connotation could change, okay, over times, okay, and different in different periods of time. But I just want to point out that when it comes to representation, it always involves different layers, okay, of meaning, okay. And then when it comes to representation, it always involving the process of encoding and decoding. So encoding, that means the process by which signs are organized into codes. Decoding, okay, refers to the process of reception by which readers make sense of codes and generate meaning from them. So I think just now we are trying to decode the meaning of the news stories by taking a look at the denotation and connotation of meanings, and also how different groups of people are being categorized, classified, and being put into different social stratification. So that's the reason why when it comes to media content, we need to think twice, because when it comes to media, okay, uh, actually it involves social institutions. Okay, it involves that sort of power relations. Okay, by taking a look at that news story, you can see that it involves the process of constructing knowledge, values, conceptions, and beliefs. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to study media representation, because power relations are encoded, okay, and then media representations in turn produce and reproduce power relations. Okay, so when you reach this sort of news stories on and off, okay, from a young age up to maybe your middle age, then actually these sort of stories have already shaped your perception of different groups of people. Okay, and then without uh, your notice. Okay, so that's the reason why when we talk about media representation, it's affecting us, but in most cases we do not quite know. Okay, and then so you can see that we are interested in the ways in which media representation are involved, often in subtle, latent, and highly sophisticated ways. So, in the reproduction or contextation of power relations and inequalities, for example, class, gender, race, sexuality, ethnicity, age, and nationality. So that's the reason why when we approach media content, okay, instead of just talking about media content could be conceived as visual code, we always consider it as a kind of social institution, and it involves the sort of power relations. It involves what people they are representing, which group of people, with what purpose. Okay, so you need to think more about that. Okay, who is representing whom? Okay, and then in what ways and with what purpose. Okay, so because it could involve issues like class, gender, race, sexuality, ethnicity, and nationality. And somehow, when it comes to this sort of representation, they could be quite subtle and latent, okay, without your noticing. Okay. Yes, I think that's stereotypes, okay. But I think these sort of stereotypes, they operate in a common place, they operate in a subtle way without our knowing, okay. 哦，兩個報道嘅稱呼人不同，意思係咩啊？睇翻嗰個 news story 先，係咯，佢有講外籍男子啦， 譬如另一個 headline 就係外籍男價啦。其實當我哋講外籍男子嘅時候，其實點解唔 specifically 講可能英籍嘅男子或者可能美籍，但係我哋就會 categorize 咗所有嘅白人咧變成 foreigners，OK？但係其實講真，即係可能南亞裔嘅人士都可以係 foreigners 嘅嘛。即係即係所以就好吊詭啦，即係而裡面牽涉咗我哋點樣去睇依兩個唔同嘅 social groups 啊，但係其實都唔係好覺嘅，即係當你平時每一日睇啲新聞嘅時候，唔係好覺有呢一個 stratification 或者一個 hierarchy 咯，其實可能唔係淨係依啲嘅 social groups，即係可能有好多唔同嘅 news story 都含有唔同嘅value judgment 啦，但係其實唔係好察覺到嘅，即係所以我哋講即係 media representation 點解要 study 咧？因為佢都係 institutions 啦，同埋即係 media 本身都係一個 institution 去 convey 一啲 messages 啦，而嗰啲 messages 係充滿咗一種即係個過程入邊會 create 到一啲 knowledge 或者去影響等我哋去思考唔同嘅事物嘅方法咯，即係佢會潛移默化地係啦。Okay. Yes, it could be. Yes, it could be, but it's unknown. The Pakistans, they could be local people, but uh, actually, it's unknown. But even uh, the foreigners, okay. I think foreigners, this term, it doesn't mean they are not local. 即係外籍人士都唔等於佢唔係 local people 嚟嘅，外籍啫。即係所以係好arbitrary 同埋好吊詭咯。White skin, golden hair, green blue eyes，即係話意思係咪金髮同埋誒金髮同埋藍眼，即係個 skin 嘅 colour 唔同，跟住可能白人就係藍眼睛，係咪咁啊？謝恒同學，你意思係咪咁啊？唔緊要啦，係啦，OK，即係咧外籍人士就係金髮啦、藍眼，OK，係 OK。Okay, so let's move on. Okay, to take a look at John Berger's TV series Ways of Seeing. Okay, in Cantonese 觀看的方式. And then basically in the TV series, John Berger would like the audience to equip that sort of critical mind, okay, in decoding visual images. So actually, today we focus on media content, particularly visual media content. That means we will take a look at how images operate in photography and also painting and also advertising. Okay, so when we talk about John Berger, he is an he is an English art critic, and then actually he is quite capable of giving explanation about some complex ideas and make it quite simple and easy to understand. So today we're going to take a look at images, okay, and then to think more about maybe our ways in consuming images. I think nowadays, okay, I think each of us, okay, when we are consuming media content, okay, primarily it would be images. Okay, I don't know whether some of you are still sticking to written works. Okay, but you can think more about your media consumption habits. Okay, when was the last time you read a book? or when was the last time you read a very long news story? Okay, so when it comes to our habit, okay, in consuming media content, I think in most cases, okay, we are consuming images. Okay, we are living in an image saturated world. Okay, especially in this contemporary world, images are actually part of everyday life. And then you can see that way of seeing. It was produced in 1972. Okay, and actually it was broadcast on BBC Two. Okay, in 1972, and then you can see that it talks about seeing. Okay, it's about 觀看. Okay, I think basically it analyzed how photography and also painting they organize the gaze and also gaze in Cantonese 凝視, okay? It talks about who is looking and who is being looked at, okay? And it talks about images. It have a certain way, okay, of perceiving or a certain ways, okay, in structuring the audience, the way in seeing things. Okay. And so when it comes to images, okay, they are just like words. They are just like language, okay? They have, for example, we would say film language. They have their own rules and grammar, okay? So I think what's interesting in the TV series, okay, it tells us more about the grammar of images, okay? And then when we are watching TV, okay, we easily get distracted, okay, by different images when they are justifying, they are being put into a consecutive, actually, that means they are being put together, okay, and then it makes us actually get a preferred meaning from the juxtaposition of two different images. So first of all, I just want to show you a film clip from Ways of Seeing to make things more interesting. Okay, you can see that John Berger said that every image embodies a way of seeing, and then how we see things actually it affected by what we know and what we believe. So I think when we talk about seeing, okay, it's not something objective or neutral. Okay, we are always being affected by what we know and what we believe. Okay, in our ways of seeing things. And then maybe first of all, I would like to show you the film clips so you can have a better idea about what John Berger mentioned in his TV series and the book, okay, with the same title, Ways of Seeing.
Soundless.
Can you hear the sound of the film clip? Yes, okay. Let's take a look at this.
Becomes a corridor, connecting the moment it represents with the moment at which you are looking at it. And something travels down that corridor at a speed greater than light, throwing into question our way of measuring time itself. Because paintings are silent and still, and because their meaning is no longer attached to them, but has become transmittable, paintings lend themselves to easy manipulation. They can be used to make arguments or points which may be different, very different from their original meaning. And because paintings are essentially silent and still, the most obvious way of manipulating them is by using movement and sound. The camera moves in to remove a detail of a painting from the whole. Its meaning changes. An allegorical figure becomes a pretty girl anywhere. From being part of a strange poetical world of metamorphosis, a dog can be turned into a pet, not unlike the dog of his master's voice. The meaning of a painting shown on film or television can be changed even more radically. This is a painting by Bruegel, or rather a reproduction of a painting by Bruegel, of the Road to Calvary. If you look at the whole painting, Bruegel's intention is fairly clear. In the right foreground are Mary and John and the mourners of Christ. Christ carrying the cross is in the middle distance, carried forward by the crowd, which is making its way to the place of the crucifixes, far away on the right, where a circle of onlookers has already gathered. If you look at the whole picture, you see that it is about grief, about torture, and above all about the callousness, the eager inquisitiveness, the superstitious drive of the crowd. If it sets out to be a religious painting, it is an oddly secular one. But the difficulty is that on a screen, if you keep the whole painting in view, you don't see very much. You have been waiting impatiently for the camera to go in to examine details. Yet, as soon as this happens, the comprehensive effect of the painting can be changed. For example, it is possible to isolate and show the details in a way that makes the painting look like a fairly straightforward devotional picture. With a different camera movement again, it can be shown as an example of landscape painting. Or details can present it to you in terms of the history of costume or social customs. Most easily, it can be presented as a story. The two thieves being carted to the place of crucifixion, Christ carrying the cross. In a film sequence, the details have to be selected and rearranged into a narrative which depends on unfolding time. Yet, in the painting as a whole, all these elements are there simultaneously. In paintings, there is no unfolding time. As well as by the movements of the camera, paintings are modified and changed by the sounds you hear when looking at them. Here is a landscape, a cornfield with birds flying out of it. Look at it for a moment in silence. Now, supposing I say whilst you look at it, this is the last picture Van Gogh painted before he killed himself. Words you notice consciously. Music is subtler. It can work almost without your noticing it. How often do you consciously notice the music played over paintings on television? Yet music and rhythm change the significance of a picture. Here's a painting by Caravaggio. Here are details of this painting cut to music from an Italian opera.
No so quoi la fare.
Screen. Say, comes after it. Let's try a last experiment. We put the image of this well-known painting by Goya on your screen. You look at it in the context of what I'm saying, in the context of my image in relation to it. But supposing you had just turned onto this channel from one of the other two, then you might see. And supposing now you turn off from our channel onto one of the others. Each time, the impact of the Goya is modified. I've now emphasized the ways in which reproduction makes the meaning of works of art ambiguous. This is not as negative as it necessarily sounds if we realize what is happening. What it means, in theory, is that reproduction of works of art can be used by anybody for their own purposes. Images can be used like words. We can talk with them. Reproduction should make it easier to connect our experience of art directly with other experiences. You can sometimes see how naturally this begins to happen when, for instance, children or adults pin up reproductions alongside snapshots or their own drawings or pages from magazines. There, everything belongs to the same visual language, used for describing or recreating experience. What so often inhibits such a spontaneous process is the false mystification which surrounds art. For instance, the art book depends upon reproductions. Yet often, what the reproductions make accessible, a text begins to make inaccessible. What might become part of our language is jealously guarded and kept within the narrow preserves of the art expert. These last two great paintings by...
Okay. So we have just watched part of the TV series. Actually, you can see that John Berger, he analyzed how a film image would alter the meaning of a painting, okay, by putting images in a sequence, okay, that would create meanings which is quite different from the original painting. I know, okay, for actually this TV series, it was produced in the 70s, okay, and it's a bit old, okay, I know, but I think when it comes to his ways in analyzing painting and also film images, and at the end, he talks about reproduction. Okay, so maybe you are a bit unfamiliarized with this term reproduction in Cantonese, 複製技術. Okay, reproduction. So I think I will talk more about this aspect, okay, today, okay, so to talk more about when it comes to mechanical reproduction, okay, so how actually mechanical reproduction, 複製技術 in Cantonese, it's actually democratized art, okay. I think in the past, okay, when it comes to art or painting, it was a privilege for the aristocracy, for the upper class people, okay, and then with the emergence of mechanical reproduction, 複製技術, so you can see that art, okay, can be enjoyed by the majority, by the mass, okay, by the people, okay, the general people, okay, it's no longer monopolized, okay, by the upper class people. And then when we take a look at this image, okay, so any one of you actually heard about Andy Warhol? Okay, Andy Warhol can be considered as the father of pop art. Okay, 普普藝術. Okay, so when you take a look at this one of his work, okay, the Campbell soup cans. So you can see many similar images, okay, here, okay, and then they are identical to one another. Okay, so I think when we talk about Andy Warhol, he is the one actually focusing on the relationship between commercial advertising, mass media, and also celebrity culture, and challenging the traditional boundaries between high and low art. Okay, when we talk about when you were watching the film clip, when you were watching the painting, those classical one, they actually are quite different from this artwork of Warhol. Okay, so you can see that he purposefully, okay, creating artwork, okay, to show you the skills of reproduction, 複製技術. Okay, so I think when it comes to 複製技術, I think I previously mentioned that that sort of mechanical reproduction, it makes actually it made us accessible for most of the people. Okay, so and then with reproduction, you can actually enjoy art anywhere, anytime. Okay, so when you think about social media, we always have the chance to consume certain images, okay, from art piece, okay, but we seldom know, okay, where it comes from. We seldom know the title of the painting. Okay, so I think when it comes to reproduction, mechanical reproduction, you can see that the originality of a painting has been rendered irrelevant. Okay, because we will not ask, when we take a look at this artwork, we will not ask which image is the original image. Okay, which one is the copy? Okay, they are all copies. Okay, and we cannot distinguish which is the original painting or original image at all with the advancement of the technique of reproduction. Okay, so and that's the reason why it changed the meaning of painting or artwork, because we no longer care about the originality of an artwork. We don't care whether it's original or not. And that's the reason why you can see that a man called Benjamin, okay, actually, he said that actually art lost the aura, okay, because aura in Cantonese 靈光, okay, because we no longer care about originality, 或者係真跡啊，我想講係啦，我想講少少就係頭先我哋睇咗個片段啦，係即係 John Berger 啦，咁即係見到好多個 painting 嘅分析啦，同埋都講咗即係電影語言可以點樣改變一個 painting 嘅 meanings 啊，即係如果你將鏡頭 zoom in 或者 zoom out 或者將一個 painting 裡面發生嘅唔同嘅事件啦，去將佢變成一個唔同嘅 images 嘅 sequence 啦，其實佢個 meaning 已經完全唔同咗，亦都你見到當佢 zoom in 或者當佢將一啲嘅 images 變成 sequence 嘅時候，會多咗 emotion 嘅。OK， 即係如果你淨係睇一個 painting，可能你可以好安靜啦，有一種 silence 喺裏面啦，即係你基本上可以遊走喺成幅圖畫，你唔需要俾人帶住去邊個 focus，你可以可能去個 background，去個 foreground，你係隨住自己嘅心意去睇嘅。但係當有即係 camera 啦，有 film language 嘅時候啦，你見到嗰個鏡頭係會帶住你去唔同嘅即係。係啦，都會帶住你一個 narrative 咁樣啦，令到你即係被帶住走啦，而你嗰個參與性係會低咗嘅。OK， 咁同埋咧，我頭先啱啱就 show 咗俾大家睇啦，即係呢個係 Andy Warhol 啦，咁佢係泡泡藝術之父啦。咁其實你會唔會覺得呢啲係 artwork 咧？可能而家我哋更多啲 questions 啦，即係咩係 artwork？ 因為咩都係 artwork 咁樣啦，即係好一個 everyday life ordinary object 其實都可以係一個 artwork。咁其實 Andy Warhol 其實就係想即係呈現俾一啲觀眾去睇啦，或者呈現俾即係大眾去睇啦。其實嗰個複製藝術咧，已經將所謂高等同埋即係普及嘅藝術咧，嗰個界線係已經模糊化咗啦。特別係因為複製藝術，當複製藝術出現嘅時候，你根本分唔到，譬如依度咁多幅圖畫，佢哋都係金寶湯啦，但係你唔會問邊一個係 original 嘅金寶湯嘅 image 咧，同埋佢 look like 係好似好 similar， 同埋好似係一個 copy of 另一個 image 咁樣，咁但係當我哋即係講複製藝術啦，即係或者複製呢一個科技啦，我哋叫 mechanical reproduction 啦，佢令到 所謂 copies 可以出現啦，或者 images can be reproduced 啦。咁個 implication 就係話artwork 咧唔再係淨係一啲有錢嘅人先去 enjoy 嘅，或者去睇嘅一啲作品咯，而係普羅大眾都可以有機會去睇到即係藝術。主要原因就係以前好着重所謂一個 painting 係一個真跡啦，而咧當有複製藝術嘅時候，你可以有千千萬個嘅 copy 十嗰個原本嘅 painting，然後而基本上係可以供唔同嘅人去consume 啦，可以喺唔同嘅地點唔同嘅時間 show 翻一個原本係一個 original painting 嘅 image 啦，去俾大眾去觀賞啦。咁所以改變咗即係藝術咧，特別係 painting 嗰個 meanings 嘅。咁所以冇咗嗰個靈光啊，即係話你個 painting 冇咗一個靈光，冇咗一個所謂真跡呢樣嘢，大家分唔到邊個係真跡，或者即係當有 copies 嘅時候，好難就真唔再 care 邊個係真跡，邊一個係 copies 咯。OK，咁I hope actually at the end of the film clip, John Berger explained, okay, how actually reproduction has changed the meaning of artwork. Okay, and then you can see that from this artwork of Andy Warhol, we understand more about the power of copies, okay, power of reproduction, okay, because we no longer consider an original artwork is the best one. Okay, it's okay to consume copies, okay, of the original artwork, and then it's make art, okay, popular, okay, among the mass, okay, among the majority of the population. Okay. So and then I will give further explanation about the painting and also its significance in the past, okay, shortly. But before that, I would like to analyze gaze, okay. When you analyze an image, you can always focus on the gaze, okay, to think more about who is being looked at and who is the onlooker. Okay, that means somehow when it comes to images, okay, no matter it's painting, advertising, even images, okay, in magazine, okay, on TV, actually it's always worthwhile, okay, to take a look at who is the onlooker, who is being looked at. Okay, so I just want to show you, okay, a painting here. Okay, so can you tell me what you can see in this painting? Can you actually see the peeping Tom? Okay, so we got some people, they are secretly, okay, gazing at this woman who is naked. Okay, okay, a naked woman, and look at, yeah, and an old man. Okay, so you can see that actually we got a man peeping, okay, this woman, okay, and then we got another man, okay, peeping this naked woman, okay, and then you can see that this woman, she is looking at the mirror, enjoying her own image. Okay, so I think actually by taking a look at this painting, you can see there's some sort of structure in it. Okay, you can see that the man, they are the one who is who are looking. Okay, while the woman, she is being looked at. So you can see that the man, they are surveyors, and the woman, the surveyed. Okay, and then men, they are the one who have action, while the woman, okay, she acts as an appearance, as a spectacle to be looked at. Okay, and then we got the mirror. Okay, it seems that she enjoyed her self-image, her image in the mirror very much. Okay, I think in painting it always associate um, this behavior, okay, as vanity. Okay, so I think by taking a look at this painting, you have a better understanding of the gaze of the different uh, protagonists, okay, in the painting. And maybe after the break, I will give you further analysis of how actually we can pay more attention to this sort of structure and this sort of arrangement about gaze and being gazed at. Okay, so maybe let's stop here for a while, and then actually I will finish the PowerPoint slides first, and then uh, the rest of the time we will have some discussion about what we have mentioned today. Okay, especially about whether you consider, okay, um, the reflective approach, okay, more maybe sensible, okay, than the constructivist approach, okay, when it comes to media um, representation. Okay, so let's take a break first. Just come back at 9:17. Okay, see you in a bit. Enjoy your break. Yeah. Okay, so let's start again. We actually have taken a look at this painting just now. 咁我想講翻少少先啦。即係因為可能想多啲同大家有啲 engagement，咁我用翻中文少少講翻啦，就係呢個 painting 其實可能大家覺得好舊咁樣啦。但係即係我主要其實係想帶出翻其實關於刑事嘅問題，特別係男性刑事啦。因為 John Berger 喺佢嗰個無論喺個 TV series 咧，定係佢本書咧《Ways of Seeing》入邊，都特別提到刑事呢個問題，但特別咧，頭先同學都有講到啦，即係見到有一啲人喺度偷窺緊呢一個即係裸女啦咁樣，咁其實當我哋講刑事嘅時候，你都可以譬如去作為一個analytical tool 啦，去分析 images 嘅，特別可能包括電影啦，包括可能即係海報啦，或者 social media 嘅 messages images 啦，甚至係可能 TV series 裏面點樣去呈現即係女性同埋男性嘅咧？咁特別你就見到喺依度啦，即係男性同女性佢哋都有一種角色嘅分工嘅。男人咧就係即係有啲嘢係佢有 action 嘅，女人其實就係比較 passive 咁樣。作為一個即係外貌比較重要啦，同埋都係一個景觀啦。OK，即係 spectacle 一個景觀去被觀看嘅。咁所以你見到觀看同埋被觀看係當中係有一個角色分工，而呢個角色分工係用呢個性別嚟去分嘢嘅。咁其實同埋特別咧，好多時候咧，即係 John Berger 都提到啦，即係呢啲嘅 erotic paintings 啦，通常都係一啲有錢人自己揾一啲嘅 painters 啦，咁去幫佢畫嘅，然後 for 自己 private 嘅即係觀賞啦，即係私人觀賞嘅，即係咁而咧喺呢啲嘅 paintings 入邊啦，嗰啲 painter 可能即係majority 係男人啦，佢就畫咗一啲裸女啦，咁其實即係佢。呢啲女士啦，即係naked 嘅 woman 咧，即係好多時候都係會有一塊鏡喺佢手度啦，或者佢照緊塊鏡啦。咁呢啲男性嘅 artist 佢畫咗一個 naked 嘅 woman，但係咧佢又會俾塊鏡佢咧，然後就會blame 佢咧，其實佢係 sinful 啦，同埋有 vain 啦，即係所以其實一種雙重嘅剝削，一方面就係要呈現佢嘅身體作為一個景觀，另一方面咧，亦都會即係去 punish 佢啦，即係覺得佢有某啲即係慾望啦，就係其實有一啲虛榮喺裏面啦，即係咁，所以當我哋講去分析呢啲嘅 paintings 嘅時候，可能佢唔係up to date，即係你覺得好 outdated 嘅。但係當我哋講嗰個刑事啦、觀看嘅模式啦、被觀看嘅對象啦，其實都係環繞一個性別嘅一種安排喺裏面啦。咁都其實係 applicable to 現今我哋去分析媒體嘅 images，可以比較 critical 咁去理解其實女性同埋男性邊一個係spectator，邊個係 spectacle，同埋好多時候女人都會有一個傾向啦，就係自我客體化啦，即係喺呢啲嘅 painting 嘅呈現裏面，呢個再現裏面啦，咁亦都係 informed 咗我哋關於可能女性同埋男性喺社會入邊嗰個 social roles 係點樣咯，咁呢個係其中一個方法啦，即係當我哋去理解即係 images 嘅時候，你可以 focus 多少少觀看嘅方式，就係邊個係被觀看，邊個係觀看者。通常觀看者都係多啲 power 嘅。即係特別呢個artwork 啦，正正可以 demonstrate 到呢樣嘢咯。其實正如佢喺書入邊都講啦，men act and women。Men act and women appear. Men look at women. Women watch themselves being looked at. And woman must continually watch herself. She is almost continually accompanied by her own image of herself. 其實佢呢種嘅分析咧都好 applicable to 現今嘅世代啦。好多時候女性嘅身體都變成一種商品啦。係特別係 for 一種嘅所謂觀看嘅快感啊。即係正正其實見到即係 female 其實無論喺以前嘅 painting 啦，定係其實 就算係現今嘅廣告啦，或者電影啦，都其實有一種對佢哋身體有一種 exploitation，就係會將佢哋變成一個 spectacle。OK，咁依個其實亦都係可以透過觀看呢個模式去理解多少少一個 images 係點樣有一個 power relations 喺裡面嘅。Okay, for the group presentation, it will be held online, not in person. Okay, so that means actually you need to maybe some students have told me they will gather together in one place and then they will conduct the presentation online. Okay, you can consider this way, but it will not be conducted in person. Okay, it will be conducted online. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I would like to move on to talk about another aspect mentioned by John Berger, and I will actually go through the PowerPoint slides shortly. And then actually I would like you to participate in discussion. Okay, afterwards, I will give you some questions because I have prepared some tutorial questions. Okay, so maybe after I have finished the slides, you can have more. Participation, okay, and you can actually express your opinion concerning certain question. Maybe I just share the question for you, okay, and then you can think more about that, okay, right now. So these are the questions I would like you to think about. Yeah, actually, you can download the notes, the tutorial notes, okay, if you like, okay. So just think about these questions. Then maybe after I finish the slides, I will have some discussion with you. And then actually, John Berger talked more about publicity and advertising. You can see that he is a left-wing critic, okay? And then actually, he has a strong tendency to criticize the capitalist culture. And then you can see that for actually in his works, he talked much about publicity. In Cantonese 廣告或者宣傳 okay, publicity, 宣傳 okay, publicity, and also advertising. I think actually when he talks about publicity, he said that it's not merely an assembly of competing messages. It is a language in itself which is always being used to make the same general proposal. And then the purpose of publicity is to make the spectator dissatisfied with his present way of life. So now I would like to show you a film clip. It talks more about how it works in advertising, how actually in the modern world, how advertising are being used as a way to make actually the viewers feel dissatisfied with their own life, and which is quite different, okay, from the purpose of images, okay, in painting or in the old days, okay, because when in the old days paintings are possessed by rich people, okay, it's a kind of demonstration, okay, it's a kind of way, okay, in demonstrating that, okay, they are rich, okay. So I think it has a basic difference between the images used in the old times and how it is used, okay, in the present time. I just show you a short film clip so you can have a better understanding of what has been mentioned by John Berger. Then I will round up today's lecture.
Publicity and oil painting use many of the same references and celebrate the same qualities in things. Share many of the same ideals, all of them related to the principle that you are what you have. Their purpose and their effects, however, are very different. The oil painting showed what the owner was already enjoying among his possessions and his way of life. It consolidated his own sense of his own value. It enhanced his view of himself as he already was. It began with facts, the facts of his life. Of course, there were other facts which it didn't take into account. Where did the owner's wealth come from? The exploitation on which his wealth was based was not shown. But what was shown did at least correspond to the condition of his own life. Publicity is different. It appeals to a way of life we aspire to or think we aspire to, but have not yet achieved. A publicity picture suggests that if we buy what it is offering, our life will be different from what it is. Scene after scene shows you this different life. Not only will our home be different, but all our relationships will become radiant because of our new possessions. But we can only achieve such radiance if we have money. And so publicity also works on our anxieties about money. Urging each of us to scramble competitively to get more. Making money appear as if it were itself magical. This may persuade a few people to use a bank credit system despite the very high rate of interest. But what is more important is that it promotes the illusion that a man's ability to consume is directly related to his sexual virility. According to the rules of the dream, those who do not have this power, those who lack glamour, become faceless, almost non-existent. Publicity both promises and threatens. It plays upon fear, often the fear of not being desirable, of being unenviable. It suggests that you are inadequate as you are, but it consoles you with the promise of a dream. Behind the dream are the working lives of the very people it addresses.
Okay, so we have just watched a clip from Ways of Seeing, okay, and then you can see that it talks about the different purposes, okay, when it comes to the images in the painting and images in advertising, okay, and then I just talk about more about the idea of glamour, okay, okay, so I will talk more about that. So actually, according to Berger, you can see that art is used as a cultural capital. Okay, that means it's a way actually to show the owner's status. Okay, if you own a particular painting, then it can be used, okay, as a way, okay, to show other people you have the sort of status. And then when it comes to painting, nowadays, okay, its authority is lost because the art of the past no longer exists as it once did, okay? And then, as I mentioned, the aura of painting or art, okay, has disappeared, okay, because of reproduction. And then actually, when we talk about art, it can be considered as a cultural capital. So you can see that when it comes to painting, okay, it's always about privileged elite, and then it's a way to show you that actually possessing a certain painting, okay, is the privilege, okay, and then Also, when it comes to oil painting, ownership is closely related to that sort of status and as a status that symbolized maybe something related to elitism. Okay, so so I think it's quite different. Okay, when it comes to images. Okay, in the past and in the present day. Okay, so when it comes to art of work. Okay, a work of art. Okay, actually, only minority of the upper class owned this sort of artwork in the past. Okay, and then it's a way to showing how wealthy they are, maybe, and how actually powerful they are. So we have this sort of painting. Okay, it seems to be a natural landscape, but actually these two people, they are landowners in their own time. Okay, and it is a way, okay, to exhibit, okay, what offer authority they got, and also how powerful they are. So I think basically when it comes to painting, okay, it's always about a statement of ownership, of wealth and power. But as I mentioned, when it comes to images, okay, of the past, okay, it's about wealth, ownership, and power. But nowadays, okay, when it comes to publicity, advertising is a statement of desirability and aspiration. Okay, so that means when it comes to images nowadays, it's a way, okay, to make people feel that actually they lack something. They need to possess something in order they could actually live a good life. So that's the reason why at the end, okay, of maybe at in chapter 6, okay, John Berger talk more about glamour and envy in advertising. Okay，係啦，咁我再講多少少 glamour 呢一個意思啦，即係 Berger 其實提到魅力呢一個 concept，即係特別喺 chapter 6嗰度啦，佢想講翻。過去嘅 painting 咧，用 images 嗰個模式咧，同埋現代用 images 嘅模式係唔同嘅。以前嘅人咧，即係佢有一啲 painting 係展示佢嘅 wealth 啦、power 啦、佢嘅地位啦。但係當現代嘅時候係相反嘅，其實因為嗰啲 images 咧係其實要令到啲 viewers 覺得佢哋現實嘅生活咧係有缺陷啊。OK，咁同埋即係同埋咧 glamour actually 咧。意思就係話 the condition of being envied，即係會俾人去羨慕嘅。我覺得呢一個ideas 同social media 嘅 platform 啫，嗰個即係啦，嗰個狀態好似啦，我哋好多 celebrity culture 啦，同埋好多時候呢啲 celebrity 啦，即係佢就會 show 啦 off 啦，即係佢嘅 life 係有幾glamorous 啦，咁而其實正正係透過呢啲嘅 images 咧，去製造咗一種即係 fear 啦，一種anxiety 啦，其實都係擠翻落去個 consumer culture 裏面，其實都係 encourage 翻其實嗰個 media consumers 去可能去 consume 某一啲 products 啊，或者用某種嘅形式去呈現自己啦，去可以 gain 到一個 popularity。咁所以其實 glamour 同埋 envy 咧，佢特別係講其實即係就係現代社會特別 advertising 佢一個好重要嘅模式啦，令到大家對於現實而家嘅生活係 dissatisfied，而相信咧佢嘅未來嘅生活咧如果要美好嘅話，一定係要透過即係去買一啲嘅 products 啦，令到佢嘅將來可以改變。所以 publicity 咧 is about the possibility of transformation 咯。And then it's very related to consumerism. I think that's the reason why actually when it comes to advertising it's very capable of constructing the image of good life, and is very capable of defining what is good life. So when comparing the old days and the modern world, so you can see that glamour, okay, it was the privilege of group of people, okay, who are wealthy and who are powerful, okay, and then after we got the technology of reproduction. Actually, many people, they have maybe the rights, or they have the chance, okay, to consume images. But when you take a look at nowadays advertising, you can see that we still got some images associated with the old painting. Okay, so you can see that this is a advertisement of the McDonald's. Okay, and then it actually you can see an image from an old painting actually to say that actually eating McDonald's, okay, it's just like a royal, okay. And then when you take a look at this advertising, you can think more about how John Berger talk about images can be actually moved to another context, and then the meaning could be totally changed. And then you can see that somehow, okay, for example, these advertising, okay, they used some images from old paintings, okay, which are quite famous. For example, this image is from the work of Vermeer, okay, which entitled "The Girl with the Pearl Earring." Okay, it's a very famous image, and then being put into a commercial. Okay, so when we are taking a look at images in advertising, we need to think more about who uses the image and for what purpose. And then also, okay, this is another example in which we got Van Gogh painting, okay, and then it has been turned into a commercial, okay, to sell beer, okay, Guinness, okay. So I think when it comes to images, it can be put into another context, and then the meanings can be changed altogether. And then, so that's the reason why John Berger would remind people when it comes to images, it could create different meaning in different contexts. It can be quite different from the original one. Okay, so lastly, I just want to mention that when it comes to the democratization of images, as I mentioned, when it comes to reproduction, okay, when we have the techniques of reproduction, images can be assessed by different people, even the majority in the society. Okay, but you can see that the meanings of images has been changed. It's no longer used to exhibit that sort of possession or power, okay, of the upper class. So in the past, for example, this sculpture or this statue of David, okay, is actually owned by wealthy collectors. Okay, it's a way to demonstrate their own wealth and their power. Nowadays, okay, we have similar images. Okay, when you take a look at the arrangement of the image is quite similar to that sort of gesture. Okay, when we can see in David. Okay, but and this sort of beauty belongs to no one. Actually, all of us can consume this sort of images, but you can see that not everyone can actually got that sort of status. Okay, it's a democratization of art and images. But when it comes to commercial, it's always about encouraging people to buy more, okay, and to remind that they are not good enough, okay. So these are some of the example of modern days images, okay. And that's the reason why when we talk about glamour, it's always a way, okay, in creating envy. Okay, so envy becomes a common emotion in a society that has moved towards democracy. Okay, but stopped halfway. Okay, that means where status is theoretically open to everyone, but only enjoyed by a few. That means actually, I think nowadays, okay, all of us we can consume images, but only few of us can actually enjoy that sort of status. Okay, although we have experienced that sort of democratization of art and also images but I think the purpose of images has changed. It's quite different, okay, from the past. Okay, so let's take a look at these images. 睇下可能可以睇下呢啲嘅 images 啦。咁其實你都見到啦，即係我哋有一啲舊有嘅 painting 啦。咁呢啲 painting 其實就係啲 wealthy people 佢哋 owned 嘅。咁你見到有啲即係naked 嘅 women 啦。咁其實係用嚟去展現其實嗰啲 collector 佢哋有幾 wealthy 啦，同埋佢哋都去呈現佢自己嘅 fantasies 嘅。咁同埋都話俾你聽，佢擁有呢啲嘅。女 beautiful 嘅即係女性啦，咁但係現代嘅advertising 啦，你見到其實佢個 purpose 係唔同咗嘅，即係雖然都係見到佢嘅 gesture 啊，即係嗰個 images 嘅 arrangement 都好似啦，咁但係其實現代嘅advertising 係要 create 嗰種嘅 dissatisfaction 咯，即係令到 viewers 咧係有更多嘅 desires，佢覺得自己嘅life 咧係唔 dissatisfied 嘅，令到佢哋覺得需要，如果佢要有一個美好嘅人生咧，好似呢啲嘅女性嘅話咧，就要去買嗰啲嘅 products 啊。咁所以其實你見到John Berger 佢係嘗試去分析咧呢個嗰個 function 個轉變啊，即係以前 images 其實係一小撮人嘅 privilege 啦，但係去到而家呢個現代世界，我哋其實所有人都可以消費緊 images，但係唔係所有人都會 enjoy 到嗰個 status 啊。而好多時候呢啲嘅publicity 啦，我哋講呢啲咁嘅即係廣告啊、宣傳啊，某程度上係要即係 stir up 其實嗰啲 consumer 嘅 fear 啦、佢嘅 jealousy 啦、同埋佢嘅渴望啦，希望係俾人哋 envy 啦。因為我講 glamour 係嗰個狀態係你好想俾人哋即係羨慕啦。咁所以即係有少，即係我覺得都近似其實 social media 裡面嗰個 spectacle 基本上我哋對於我哋而家嘅世界基本上係充滿咗呢啲嘅 images 啦，令到其實譬如 social media 嘅 user 點解其實都成日會好 depressed 咧？因為佢經常都會見到呢啲 images 係好美好嘅 images，即係我諗基本上冇一個 social media user 會嘗試呈現自己可能唔美好嘅一面啦，即係太多呢啲 images 全部都係同一個即係 attention economy 有關啦，咁所以即係 user 其實永遠都係處於一種狀態，即係覺得自己好有缺陷啦，覺得自己呢一個現在嘅狀態係好唔滿意啦，OK，即係覺得好需要去 improve 啦，即係所以都處於一種 emotional 嘅 turmoil 裡面啦。咁所以即係我哋睇到 John Berger 都即係嘗試去分析翻 images 喺唔同嘅時代，其實佢有唔同嘅 purpose。另外仲有一個好重要嘅 dimension 就係話，當 images 擠咗喺唔同嘅 context 裏面啦，喺唔同嘅語境嘅裏面啦，其實佢嘅 meanings 會好唔同嘅。咁譬如我哋睇多少少 images 啦，咁我就 round up 今日嘅 lecture 啦。譬如呢個蒙羅麗莎啦，正如我講啦，即係而家我哋經常都會見到呢種 image 嘅，但我哋唔會去諗到底嗰個 image 係咪一個所謂真跡嚟啊？即係以前我哋當未有複製嘅即係 techniques 嘅時候，基本上當一個畫作係某啲嘅ruling class 去 enjoy 嘅時候，嗰個係咪真跡係好重要，因為得一張畫嘅啫嘛。即係如果個 wealthy man 擁有，咁其實就等於佢好有 power，同埋都係只係 upper class 嘅人自己去觀賞嘅。咁但係你見到其實而家 museum 大家都可以去啦，去觀賞嘅真跡啦。但係其實喺譬如 social media、internet 喺 commercial 裏面都經常會出現呢啲唔同嘅 images 嘅。譬如magazine 啦，咁呢啲 images 其實都係 originate from 一個真跡啦，個畫作啦，但係我哋係 copies 嚟嘅。咁所以其實 images 喺我哋而家嘅世界係變成咗 information 咯。我哋其實都唔會諗下去喺原本嘅 context 係咩 meanings 嘅。即係譬如可以變成一個 book cover 啦，可以變成一啲即係唔同嘅 products 啦，可以係commercial 啦，即係 咁所以即係唔同嘅 context 都有唔同嘅 meanings 嘅，甚至其實 art 本身都已經變成 commodity 啦，disconnected from 佢個 original meaning 啦。咁譬如亦都可以係 Instagram 裡面嘅一個即係去打卡嘅一個 image 啦。咁所以你見到其實當 image 擠咗喺唔同嘅 context 入邊，佢其實嗰個 implication 佢意義亦都好唔同嘅。咁其實頭先都有分析到啦，譬如該日一個名畫啦，佢可以即係喺譬如 popular culture 裏面，其實亦都好唔同。特別係咧，即係當我哋講 commercial 或者現代嘅 images 咧，佢經常都係即係喺一個唔同嘅 juxtaposition 裏面，其實個意義已經唔同。頭先我哋嗰個 video 都講咗少少呢個即係 dimension，就係話譬如TV 啦 culture 裏面。可能一啲 images sandwich 咗喺一啲唔同嘅 advertising 嘅中間，其實都會令到嗰個 image 嘅意義改變咗好多嘅。OK，係啦，咁其實去到最尾我就想 round 得翻少少，就係其實我哋而家係一個即係我哋係一個image saturated 嘅 world 裏面生活啦，即係 image 係無可辦法可以避免嘅。咁而咧，其實 images 佢嘅 significance 咧，喺唔同嘅文化有唔同嘅即係 meanings 啊，好 depend 係到底你係咩嘅 status 啦，同埋你其實即係個 image 嗰個 target audience 係啲咩人啦。咁最尾其實我就想講啦，就其實當我哋講即係 images 嘅時候，當我哋圍繞住俾呢啲 images 圍繞住喺人生活上面，其實到底佢有咩 effect 對我哋同埋其實呢啲 images 咧會唔會 change 我哋嘅 relationship with 個 reality 咧？咁同埋有啲你都可以諗下，到底其實 advertising 會唔會 debase 咗 arts 咧？因為其實當佢執咗另一個 context，佢變得好 trivial 啦。會唔會 debase 咗 news 咧？即係譬如當一啲嘅好嚴肅嘅 news 擠咗落一啲 commercial 裏面，正如頭先我哋嗰個 video 裏面睇到，會唔會其實令到觀眾咧，即係其實唔可以再消化一啲嚴肅嘅議題咧？OK，咁同埋我哋會唔會處於一個 image 嘅 overload 嘅狀態嘅咧？同埋我哋仲有好多 memes 啦，即係我每日都去用㗎啦，即係裡面亦都會唔會牽涉到另一個 dimension，即係我哋對於 images 嘅一種理解咧？會唔會 create 咗一個咩嘅 reality 俾我哋咧？係啦，所以今日其實講 media content 嘅時候，特別都講多少少一啲分析嘅 approaches 啦。希望大家即係都 follow 到，同埋即係唔會有太大嘅問題啦。咁而家咧，即係我就想講下關於即係我哋嗰個 tutorial 啦，即係我哋最後仲有10分鐘可以傾少少，就係今日我哋 cover 咗嘅一啲議題。因為其實我講廣東話，因為我想即係大家可能 engage 多啲，因為其實 go through 嗰啲 slides 可能有時都幾悶下，咁同埋即係特別要講翻 John Berger 佢嘅 approach 啦，嗰個來龍去脈啦，咁所以我就用翻廣東話，希望大家唔會介意啦，即係會容易啲可以去即係將嗰個 message deliver 俾大家，同埋唔會咁悶咯，係咯。咁特別最尾我就想即係大家諗一下啦，一個問題就係即係諗下，其實我哋頭先都講過，即係關於嗰個 reflective 同埋 constructive approaches 啊，understanding 個 media contents 啊。你自己會覺得其實譬如所謂反映論啦，同埋建構論啦，即係你哋自己有咩睇法啦？另外就係話，對於其實 media user，其實我哋真係咪可以 critical 咧去 decoding 一啲 media messages 嘅咧？特別當可能嗰啲 messages 係 embedded with 一啲 preferred meanings，即係你見到其實頭先我都講咗幫 John Berger 去講咗嘅對 images 嘅分析啦。好多時候當 images 咧佢可能喺 juxtaposition 嘅時候，其實佢 meaning 會改變嘅。譬如如果即係如果你哋對 montage 有理解，即係特別係 film language 你就知道唔同嘅影像擠埋一齊咧，其實會改變咗我哋對於嗰個事物嘅觀感或者一個 perception 嘅。咁所以到底其實 我冇啲方法真係可以 critical 嘅咧？或者我哋第一堂都講咗 media literacy，到底我哋係咪可以咁 critical 去 decode 到一啲 media messages 咧？我冇啲咩諗法啊，同學？So do you have any thing you would like to express concerning today's lecture, especially about your thoughts on the reflective and constructive approaches in understanding media contents? And so do you think the media user can be critical in decoding media messages which are embedded with preferred meanings？我冇啲咩意見啊，大家我冇啲咩諗法啦。我唔知幾多人睇咗 John Berger 嘅嗰個TV series 同埋佢本書咧，我冇同學仔睇咗啊。冇，OK，係咁係啦。咁關於其實我哋講個反映論同埋即係建構論啦，你哋點樣諗咧？你哋覺得你哋自己係咪好 literate 咧？即係對於 images 啦，特別因為我今日 focus 係 images 呢樣嘢啦。而家其實 images 每個人都每日都 consume 好多，即係同埋我哋對於外在世界啦，即係現實世界嘅理解，全部都係 images 啦。你覺得你哋 critical 唔 critical 咧？或者你哋可唔可以解讀到一啲 images 可能背後 embedded 嘅一啲 preferred meanings 咧？我冇諗法啦，冇乜特別感覺。Image versus story。睇一睇先，等一陣啊。可唔可以 elaborate 多啲表面理象係咩意思啊？表面理解，OK，表面理解，OK，明白。咁二次創作係想講咩啊？係啊，二次創作其實都係representation 嘅一部分啦，因為我想講就係其實 meaning 係不斷去製造嘅，即係好多時候二次創作就係 based on 可能一個大家都熟悉嘅一個意義啦，一個 meanings 咧，去再去 create 一啲新嘅 meanings。咁二次創作就係其中一樣啦。譬如頭先我哋講 painting 啦，即係好多時候 commercial 會拎咗啲舊有嘅 images 咧，然後做二次創作。你可以理解嗰個都係叫二次創作嘅，其實但係嗰個二次創作就會改變咗嗰個image 原本喺個 context 裏面嗰個 meanings 咯。咁其實好多時候二次創作係點解咁entertaining 咧？就係某程度上佢 create 咗一啲好entertaining 或者好新鮮嘅方法咧，即係令到我哋重新理解一個舊有嘅 image 咯。係啦，咁 newspaper 都用 image 係啊，咁其實都係牽涉到 representation 呢個問題咯。即係報紙其實譬如如果其實我諗都有啲 ethics 係關於即係新聞嘅影像嘅，即係都有啲 debate 到底其實係咪可以去呈現一啲 victims 或者一啲比較 controversial 嘅即係比較 explicit 嘅，可能比較 cruel 嘅 image 咧。 咁係咪報導事實咧？即係同埋有時候當我哋講 newspaper 嘅時候，如果佢用某啲角度去呈現某一啲嘅族群啦，即係譬如 refugees 咁啦，即係嗰啲 images 會有角度去呈現 refugees，可以係好，可以係壞，但係個 newspaper 都可以選取嗰個角度咯。係啦，即係所以當我哋講 representation 可以涵蓋唔同嘅 media，總之牽涉到即係可能 media content，而裡面可能係會牽涉到聲音啦、語言啦、written works 啦、甚至係images 啦、同埋甚至係佢嗰個 knowledge 嘅論述啦，咁其實我哋都叫佢做 representation 嘅，係啦。
Miss 我想問下咧，即係例如當語言咁樣講咧，咁係唔睇影像住，咁例如你讚一個人佢係好好嘅，咁但係咧表面係讚，但係原來底裏係彈人哋嘅，咁係咪咁樣？係咪都係一樣咁嘅意思嘅？
即係你意思係咪一個 representation？
係咪可以咁樣去理解嘅？又或者其實佢真係讚嘅，只不過係 depends 佢嘅語言，佢即係例如佢笑口咁樣講，同佢即係唔同態度講嘅時候，但係同一句説話，佢係咪可以帶出唔同嘅 meaning 咁樣樣？係咪可以咁樣去理解？
係嗱，咁其實基本上如果係語言啦，你基本上係溝通嘅一個問題 communication 啦。咁 communication 裡面其實正如我講啦，即係當你同人溝通，其實都牽涉到你點樣去呈現一啲嘅 event 事件啦。我會覺得其實譬如你講，譬如有啲人可能表面上係讚你，但係實質佢有言外之意嘅，係咪可以叫做牽涉到係啦？即係呢個 connotation 係咪叫做 representation 咧？我會覺得即係可以好可以話係 communication 多過 representation 咯。但係佢都有嗰個部分係關於 representation 即係，但係通常如果我哋講 representation，我哋就未去到呢啲即係個人嘅溝通嗰個模式咯。我哋會牽涉到可能對事件嘅呈現啦，對於啲人嘅呈現啦，對一啲事物嘅呈現啦，咁會 apply to 嗰啲多啲嘅。咁但係你頭先講嗰樣嘢係 communication 咯，即係譬如可能一個人同你一個 communicate 嘅時候，佢可能有言外之意，可能佢嘅 tone 啦，可能係表面上係好平和，但係實質上可能佢好憎對方嘅。咁你可以話都牽涉到 representation 呢樣嘢，但係more common 咧，我哋就會講通常 representation 係牽涉到一啲 event 啦、人物啦、事物啦，即係咁就會我會多啲 apply 去嗰啲 cases 多啲咯。咁當然啦，當我哋同人溝通嘅時候，某程度上一個人點樣去呈現一件事，佢裡面會唔會有啲言外之音？其實都有一個可能性，即係佢可能帶住佢其實啲 assumption 啊，去帶住佢一啲偏見啊，即係會有呢樣嘢啦。所以如果純粹係 communication，都牽涉到 representation 嗰部分，但係通常我哋會講多啲係牽涉到一個 event，去呈現一個 event，或者嗰個人去講另一個人，去呈現嗰個人係點嘅，喺嗰個過程入邊，去用啲咩嘅形容詞咧，去用啲咩嘅 tone 咧，或者去用啲咩嘅敘事嘅手法咧，即係當我哋講重述一個事件或者去 describe 啲人嘅時候，我哋都會用即係一個敘事嘅方法噶嘛。咁呢啲都係 representation 咯。咁但係佢純粹同你 directly 去 communicate，其實我會覺得都有 representation 嗰部分，但係唔係咁一般情況，我哋會 apply 落去咯。係咯，即係嗰個係 communication，即係當你直接同你一個 communicate 嘅時候，係你嘅對方互相去有溝通啊嘛，唔係 如果你同呢一個人溝通，而裡面牽涉到佢去呈現第三者，咁呢個其實比較 straightforward 就係 representation 咯，即係去呈現第三者，佢點樣呈現第三者咧？佢係咪去形容佢，用某個形容詞去形容佢咧？但係嗰個形容詞好似好 neutral，但係裡面係牽涉咗可能某啲 value judgment 咧，咁呢個就係比較 straightforward 去講 representation 咯。咁如果你同對方一個直接嘅 communication，咁裡面牽涉到我哋就會比較少去咁樣去形容係一個 representation 咯。希望可以解答到你問題。我冇其他問題啊，即係我諗同埋我想講 representation 本身點解會有呢個 term 咧？點解你要留意 representation 係一個 re 咧同埋 presentation 兩個字組成嘅？其實正正係講緊啦，即係現實世界可能有某啲事件發生啦，可能有某啲物品啦，其實當我哋要呈現佢嘅時候，會牽涉一個 process 啊，嗰個 process 已經係第二次，即係某程度上可以一個 copy 咯，你可以話嗰個 copy 本身唔係一個直接嘅copy，而係裡面牽涉到我哋 select 咗某一啲嘅 elements from 個 reality 啦，透過去重新 reorganize 嗰啲 materials 啊，再呈現翻一次現實世界入邊嗰啲 event 啊、ideas 啊、物品啊等等咯，咁樣咯。希望clarify 到個 representation 呢個 term 個理解啦。同埋即係 representation 係預設咗啦 ，assume 咗其實嗰個世界本身係 construction 嚟嘅，即係所以先有 representation 咯。我冇其他問題啊？可唔可以講下，即係其實今日講 images 嗰樣嘢，其實你哋係咪都有 aware 到 images 係點樣shape 緊我哋嘅 perception 啊？我冇諗過呢啲問題㗎。係咪都多係去 loop 手機㗎？即係譬如 Instagram 啦，係啦，short video 啦，from IG 啦，都頗多嘅。係啊，即係會唔會留意下？即係喺嗰啲 short video 入邊，譬如今日我哋分析過嗰啲即係係啦，點樣可以比較 critical 咁樣去 interpret 嗰啲meanings 咧？即係會唔會好快就 take in，即係 without 一個 second thought 咁樣，即係咁咯。OK，如果冇乜問題，如果冇問題，咁我哋就係啦。今日就到呢度啦。如果即係其實因為我有時覺得好難，即係 online 咧都難嘅。即係如果用另一個，即係我用英文，有時可能我唔知道大家係 O 唔 OK comfortable，即係可以話俾我聽咯。即係你想我講翻英文多啲啊，定係其實講廣東話都 OK。其實你哋可以話俾我聽咯。我其實冇問題嘅。咁或者我哋今日就到呢度啦。咁我哋下個禮拜一再見啦，係啦，咁樣，咁到時我就會講多啲group project 噶啦。Okay, thank you for coming tonight. Okay, so see you on Monday. So if you have any further questions, just let me know. Okay, maybe you can send me an email so I will answer your questions. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening and a good weekend. See you. Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.